All right, so these copies of notes are attached. If you did not get a copy, this is not in your journal, so we're adding it to our journal. And so what we're doing is we are going to be solving two-step equations. And so what happens is we're going to draw our models first, okay, to kind of show you what's happening. And then I'll walk you through it. So we'll come back to this in just a second. But on this one, we've done something very similar to this. And so when you were younger, you had a part and a part and a whole diagram, okay? And so this part is going to be x plus x plus x plus x. Ignore that bell, I'm sorry. And so that's going to be 4x. And then we've got 24, so we're adding 24 to it. So we have 4x plus, and our, 24. And our whole is going to be 44. All right, and so we'll come back with our solution in just a minute. And so what our solution would be, it would be what x is, okay? What x is. So when we draw a model, we want to go ahead and we want to have two x's. So remember when we have a pile of counters, that is like adding, okay? And so then we have plus 1, so we're going to have 1 like this, and then we'll have 9 here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So that would be a model that would match this two-step equation. All right, and so on this equation, we have 1, 2, 3x plus, because remember having a pile of counters is like adding, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 equals 2. So I'm guessing that's going to be a negative number if I'm going to get something smaller. Okay, and so we'll find our solution for x later. So in a minute, what we're going to talk about, and you know this because we've done one-step equations, is that when we want to solve, like for example, when we have something like this, all right, we've done this in the past. And so what happens is we want to isolate the x, we want to solve for x, we want to have it all by itself on one side of the equal sign. So we want to undo what's happening here. And so we learned that the opposite of addition was subtracting, right? So what I do to one side, I do to the other side. This cancels to 0. I don't need to write x plus 0, it's just x. And then this is 3. So we're going to do the exact same thing, but we're going to keep in mind that if we want to undo addition and subtraction, we've got to do it with the opposite. Okay, so inverse means opposite. So we do it with the opposite operation. So addition and subtraction are in the same fact family. And so here, if it was an addition, we used subtraction to undo it, okay? And then on here, if we have multiplication and division, those are in the same fact family. Those are inverse or opposites of each other, okay? So just like our one-step equations, we're going to do our two-step equations. So I'm going to go ahead, I apologize, I'm going to move my camera because it is shaking so badly. So I'm going to come do it over here. Bear with me, I apologize. Okay, so in order to, let me get this to stop shaking, I'm sorry. In order to get and figure out what k is, for an example, in this example, we want to figure out what number we could put there in order for this whole equation to be true. All right, so we're going to start with exactly like we did before, okay? Instead of putting the k down right now, because we have a two-step equation, we're going to go ahead and we're going to do the opposite of PEMDAS, basically, okay? So when you have PEMDAS, multiplication and division and addition and subtraction, so our addition and subtraction, it's kind of like we're undoing it. We're going backwards. So we want our addition and subtraction taken care of first in these two-step equations. So I want to ultimately isolate k and get it all by itself on this side of the equation. So I need to get rid of this plus 10. Well, the opposite of adding 10 is subtracting 10. What I do to one side, I do to the other. Okay, this cancels to 0, so I don't need to be writing it. And then 22 minus 10 is going to be 12. And then I haven't done anything to this yet. And I don't need to write 0 plus 3k. So I'm going to go ahead and just write my 3k down. And so now you have a one-step equation, all right? So now this is exactly like what we've been doing. So we're going to go ahead and solve for k. This is now a multiplication equation. 3 times something equals 12. So what we're going to do to undo this multiplication and division, so we did our addition and subtraction, and now we're going to go ahead and undo our multiplication and division so that we can isolate or get k all by itself on one side of the equal sign. So because this says times 3, we're going to do the opposite of that, which is divided by 3. What I do to one side, I do to the other. This cancels to 1. And again, I don't need to write 1 times k. It's okay if that's invisible. And then this tells me what to do to find what k is. 12 divided by 3 is 4. So if I wanted to check this, I would put a 4 right here. And I would say, okay, I'm going to go ahead and do my... in the right order, I'm going to do my PEMDAS. I'm going to multiply first. That would be 12. Plus 10 would be 22. So if I'm not sure, I can always check myself. All right, so let's go to this one right here. X is on the right side of the equal sign. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to try to get X all by itself on this side. So again, we're working backwards. We got to get rid of the simple things, the adding and subtracting first. So we want to get rid of this minus 5, so this X is all by itself on this side. So how do I get rid of minus 5? I'm going to add 5. So what I do to one side, I do the opposite, or the other side, I'm sorry. And these are opposites if you notice. Okay, we're doing the inverse operation. So this cancels out to 0. So I'm just going to write what I haven't done here. And then I'm going to go ahead and do what this tells me to do. So 19 plus 5 is going to be 24. And then I'm going to go ahead and solve for X. How do I get rid of divided by 4 so that I can isolate X and make sure it's all by itself on this side of the equal sign? The opposite of dividing by 4 is multiplying by 4. So what I do to one side, I do to the other. And ultimately, I can't say X times 4 because I don't know what X is yet, but I could say 4 divided by 4. So that go ahead and cancels to your 1. X times 1 is what I have left, but I don't need to really write that. And this tells me what to do. So that's going to be 96. So X is going to be equal, the solution is X is 96. So I could put 96 here, divide it by 4, subtract 5, and I would get 19. Okay, so let's keep going. We're going to draw our line. We're going to solve for X. We're going to get rid of this minus 8. So what I do to one side, I do the other. This cancels. I get 5. So X divided by 2 equals 5. Again, I want to isolate that X. So how do I get rid of divided by 2? I'm going to multiply by 2. What I do to one side, I do the other. That cancels. 5 times 2 is 10. And again, I can check it if I want to. So let's look at this one. Again, we're just going to try to isolate X. So we want to get rid of addition and subtraction first. So we're going to subtract 9 because we're doing the opposite of adding 9. We're going to undo it. And that's going to be 16. No, it's not. It's going to be 18. I apologize. We haven't done this yet, so we're going to copy this down. So what this says is 6 times something equals 18. So we're going to solve for X. We're going to divide by 6 because we're doing the opposite of multiplying by 6 right here. What I do to one side, I do the other. 18 divided by 6 is going to be 3. So let's do number 5. It says, at a concession stand, you bought 4 drinks and candy priced at $1.75. And you spent a total of $9.75. What is the cost of each drink? All right, so I'm going to do D for the cost of one drink. Okay, they didn't give me a variable, so I'm making it up. And so I'm going to have 4 of these, right? So I'm going to have 4 times the cost of each drink plus the candy that I bought would give me a total of $9.75. So there's my equation. Okay, so I'm going to rewrite it here so that I can solve it also. And you can see what it was before we mark all over it. Okay, so there's my equation. Now again, when I'm solving, I want D all by itself eventually on this side. So I'm going to get rid of this plus 175. I'm sorry, excuse me. So the opposite of plus 175 is minus 175. So what I do to one side, I do to the other. This cancels out. So you get $8. So 4 times D should equal 8. And you can probably already see that when I go ahead and do my balancing equations process, I need to get rid of times 4 so I can divide by 4. That cancels. 8 divided by 4 is 2. So each drink is going to be $2. All right, so let's keep going. I'm going to pick it up just a little bit. So to get rid of plus 9, we're going to say minus 9. This cancels. So that's going to be 6. So if I solve for x, I'm going to need to get rid of times 6. So divided by 6. And I'm going to get 6. And again, you can always check yourself by plugging in 6 for x and seeing if it's really 45 when you do your PEMDAS. Okay, so here we go. We're going to subtract 8 from both sides. It's going to be 33. So x divided by 4 equals 33. So if we solve for x, how to get rid of divided by 4 is opposite, the inverse operation. So we multiply on both sides by 4, and we get 132. All right, so we're going to subtract 2 here. We're going to get 14. X divided by 6 equals 14. So if I want to solve for x, I'm going to multiply by 6, multiply by 6. That cancels, and I get 84. Okay, on this one, x is on this side, so we want it isolated on this side. So we're going to say, how do we get rid of plus 5? Minus 5. So what we do to one side, we do to the other. And that we get 14. So x times 7 equals 14. We can already see that it's going to be 2, but let's go ahead and show our work. That cancels, and we get 2. All right, here we're going to say plus 25. Plus 25. What we do on one side, we do, so these are opposite, as always. And we get 75. So 10 times what equals 75? So I'm going to solve for x, divide by 10 on both sides, and I'm going to get 7.5. Okay, on this one, I want to isolate the x on this side, so I'm going to get rid of minus 10 by adding 10 to both sides. So I get 72. Okay, solve for 9. So divide by 9, divide by 9, and I get 8. All right, on this one, Stephanie is registering her son for swim lessons. There is a one-time registration fee of $45 plus a $20 fee per lesson, okay? When that per, remember we talked about that means 1, but that also is a multiplying and dividing word. So we're going to multiply something by the 20. So Stephanie paid a total of $225. How many lessons did Stephanie register? So I'm going to pick L. Okay, I'm going to do like a capital L, so you, or a little cursive L. And that means how many lessons, okay? So we're going to say, all right, well, I know my total is $225. And we know there was a one-time registration fee of $45. And it was $20 per lesson, right? So it's going to be 20L plus 45 equals 225. So 20L plus 45 equals 225. Okay, so let's go ahead and solve this and find the solution. So in order to get rid of plus 45, I'm going to subtract 45. So what I do to one side, I do to the other. Should have picked another letter, huh? So now we're solving for L. So to get rid of times 20, we're dividing by 20. So what I do to one side, I do the other. Let's do I for an I to make my division a little easier. 18 divided by 18 divided by 2 is 9. So she paid for 9 lessons. So what we're going to do is we're going to fold this in half. Okay, and we'll come back and do these solutions at another time. I think that you could probably do that on your own at this point because I've taught you how to do it. And we're going to go ahead and put it on our addition equations. We're just going to go ahead and staple it or tape it into our addition equations page in our journal.